Shalom, Israel. It's your brother Marcus G here with yet another Truth for Thought. Again, I must apologize to you, Israel. As you see, my hair is down again. Got to get it rebraided yet again. I've had it rebraided since the last time I spoke to you all, and I got to get it rebraided again. But I want to get right to this. The topic that I will be discussing today for today's Truth for Thought is Feast of Dedication, or Hanukkah, not Christmas. Now, scripturally, we're going to be coming from the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Apocrypha. This is going to be I'm going to cover a lot on this particular subject matter, and I'm going to cover some other things that just so happen to come along the way while addressing this subject matter. So before I start scripturally, I want to go and I want to get a couple of a definition. There are two definitions that I want to get. Christmas is known as a holiday. However, the Feast of Dedication, or Hanukkah, is a holy day, or actually a set of holy days, all encompassed into one holy convocation is exactly the definition of what a holy day is. It's a holy convocation. So now, for a holiday, via the Webster's Dictionary, it is a day which is exempt from work, specifically a day by a general suspension of work in commemoration of an event. Okay. So this basically is a day, basically is man observes, men of the world, men and women, it's male and female, of the world examine to commemorate an event. So what event is quote unquote Christmas commemorating? Now, traditionally, it's another huge word that plays hand in hand with holidays. Words like traditions, words like customs. Traditionally, it's known, or it has been taught, as the birth of Christ. So traditionally, it has been taught that the birth of Christ is what Christmas is commemorating. So with this, we're going to go and we're going to look at Christ, the birth of Christ, things surrounding Christ, and we're going to see just how true this holds. So I want to start by going to the New Testament of the King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha, and we're going to go to Matthew 1. We're going to go to scriptures 18 through 21. So Matthew 1, verse 18, and it reads, "Now the birth of Jesus Christ was on this wise, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with the child of the Holy Ghost." I'm going to touch on that a little later, but keep this word espoused in mind. "Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not willing to make her a public example, was minded to put her away privily." Why would he be worried about her being made a public example? Keep that in mind. I'm going to touch on that. "But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. So again, we see in verse 18 it says espoused, and now there is an angel. Well, the Lord is speaking to Joseph and telling him to marry her, to make her his wife. Again, they're not married yet, but again, I'm going to touch on that a little later. And she shall bring forth a son, thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. So now, going back up to verse 18, and we see this word espoused. Now, the definition of the word espouse is adopt or support in regards to a cause, belief, or way of life, or marry. So why is it speaking as if they are to marry but not married? Well, for those who believe that Christ was of immaculate conception, understand this. The reason that Joseph, per verse 19, being a just man, was not willing to make her a public example was because Mary and Joseph had been having sexual relations during their courting period prior to marriage. That's why it says, when as per verse 18, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph before they came together, before they actually married, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. Now, my good friend and brother, one of my brothers in the truth, Mike Malice, did an in-depth, very in-depth lesson on this. And he even went through the actual courting period for Mary and Joseph. Okay? And what happened in that courting period, as well as the marriage after the courting period. So, to bag that up, I have a precept. To bag all of that up, I have a precept. So if you would, please go with me to Exodus 22 and 16. This is in the Old Testament. So we're going to Exodus 22, verse 16. And it reads, and if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. So let's go back to Matthew 1, 18 through 21, which again is in the New Testament. And the Most High himself, in verse 20, appears to Joseph in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. They had sexual relations during the courting period prior to being married. And in Exodus, it's strict. It says it right there. If a man was to entice a maid, which Mary, prior to Joseph even talking to her, was a maid, not betrothed to anyone, and lie with her, surely she should become his wife. Again, that's the reason why in verse 18 it says, when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph before they came together, before they was in marriage. You will read it in several different scriptures. Again, my good brother Mike Malice did a lesson on this as far as them becoming intertwined as one, coming together as one. And you can see that in his lesson about multiple wives. He speaks of that. But in regards to this was not immaculate conception. They was doing some grown folk stuff prior to being married. The Most High then said to him not to fear about it. Just go ahead and marry her. Especially seeing that the son that she will bear for you is of the Holy Ghost. And verse 21, I didn't even get a chance to read. And she shall bring forth a son. Thou shalt call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Now, a lot of people will tell you Christ, when Christ or Yahweh Shai, when he died, well, not a lot of people. The Christian church will tell you that with the death of Christ, I've heard pastors say, with the death of Christ, they did away with the law. That's not true. Again, Mike Malice, man, I really look up to him. Look up to another one of our kings, King Porter. Mike has done lessons showing. I mean, Christ himself even says why he came, what he was to fulfill. Who he came to fulfill that prophecy for. Again, all those things have been addressed by my brother and the true good friend, Mike Malice. So I want to go from that. I want to go back to the Old Testament. Okay. And I want to go to Leviticus 23 and 4. Because what we're doing is we're trying to set the precedence of this holiday Christmas, which is supposedly around or commemorating the event of the birth of Christ. So I want to go to, well, no, before I go to the Old Testament, I want to stay in Matthew. I want to go to Matthew 2, verses 1 and 2. All right. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east, which is going to be to the right side. And you'll understand why I'm saying that. Saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star and are come to worship him. Now, this star, for those that don't know, we're going to touch on this star some more, but I want you to know what this star is. This star is known as the North Star by man. Man knows this star as the North Star. So I want to go down a little further, go to verse 7 through 10. Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child, and when ye have found him, bring me word again that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. So the North Star is over where Christ was born. Now I'm going to share an interesting fact with you. Christmas is in the center, is in the season of winter. The North Star does not show itself in that season. So how are you commemorating this? So I want to just to make sure, I want to go to the Old Testament. I want to go to Leviticus 23 and 4. All right. Leviticus 23 and 4. And here, and this is to, she knows who she is. I'm still going to do a lesson on the high holy days and feast days. I promise you. But this is going to kind of touch on this for a reason. So Leviticus 23 and 4. And it states, these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, so even the holy days, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. So, North Star doesn't come out in the season of winter, which means Christ was not born in the season of winter. Yet, it's traditionally known that you're celebrating Christmas as the birth of Christ, or Jesus, Yahushua, the Son, however you address him. So Christmas, like all other holidays, are based on man-made traditions and customs. In fact, a part of the Christmas tradition is having a Christmas tree. Now, a lot of people don't realize the Christmas tree is in the Bible. It's addressed. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that. And again, good friend of mine, Mike Malice, he did a lesson on the Feast of Dedication and Hanukkah. A lot of what I'm going to be doing today is going to have some of that in it. If you get a chance, check that lesson that he did out on that out as well. So let's go to Jeremiah 10, 1 through 5. We're going back to the Old Testament. We're going to Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 through 5. Listen to this, Israel. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Not everybody. Not everybody. In fact, and I've addressed this before, several kings and queens in the truth. I've addressed this before. The other nations are addressed as heathens and dogs by the Most High, by Christ, Yahushua, the Son, Jesus, however you address him. He even in the story with the Canaanite, whose daughter had demons on her. He even addressed them as heathens and dogs. So understand it. And I'm saying that for a reason, because later on you're going to see about the difference in Israel and the heathens. Okay. Verse 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Don't follow the blind, because you'll be the blind following the blind, Israel. Open up your eyes. Verse 3. For the customs, I just said, Christmas, like all other holidays, man-made holidays, are based on customs and traditions. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe, and deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. Your Christmas tree, right here in the Bible. They're talking about the Christmas tree right here. They are upright as the palm tree, upright as the palm tree, meaning they stand straight up. But speak not. They must needs be born because they cannot go, which means they have to be set up because they can't go anywhere, can't move. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. That last part, neither also is it in them to do good. Another sign, another warning to you, O house of Israel, as it states in verse 1. So we're going to go from there to 2nd Maccabees. We're going to go to the Apocrypha. Okay? We're going to go to 2nd Maccabees. And we're going to go to chapter 6. And we're going to do verses 1 through 6. And again, some of this, if you paid attention to Mike Malice's actual lesson on the Feast of Dedication, then this is going to be just a reminder. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God. So what's going on is they're trying to compel Israel not to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Compel Israel to become unrighteous. Okay? And what I'm going through now is the reasons why we are not to celebrate Christmas. Okay, first, you're not supposed to do as the heathens do, as we read back in Jeremiah 10:1-5. That's not the only place that there is. There are many other precepts for that. But not only that, per the word, you're to keep holy days and feast days in their seasons. Well, we found out that, if you're saying I'm celebrating Christmas because it's the birth of Christ, well, Christ wasn't born in that season. So I ask again, why are you celebrating Christmas? He was not born in that season. A star doesn't come out in that season. The star that was over the child known as Jesus, or Christ, Yahweh Shah, that star doesn't come out in that season. These are all reasons why we're not celebrating. Here are some more reasons why. Okay. Verse 2. And to populate also the temple in Jerusalem and call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. Now this goes back to a particular nation, Edom, Esau, and his Greek descendants, and their idols, their idolatry. And then in Garizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers. Stop right there. That's another word for the heathens or dogs used throughout the scripture. You can find it some of everywhere. Okay? As they did desire that dwelt in the place. Verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. That meant that Israelites were still keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, still keeping the Sabbath holy. And I say that because later on you're going to see that some things that happened on the Sabbath, which is the reason for the Feast of Dedication. Again, if you had a chance or have not had a chance to check out Mike Malice's actual lesson on it, I'm going to touch on some of those very same scriptures that he did in that lesson. So I can almost, it's like catching you guys up if you've never seen it. All right. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. You've probably seen in the word certain words like whoremongers, things like that. Also, I want to touch on Gentile, because a lot of people say, that there's only one type of Gentile. There is not just one type of Gentile. Gentiles are, yes, for sure, they are the heathens, but also the ones that were compelled, those Jews that were compelled to depart from the laws of their fathers, those are also Gentiles. They had converted. Once they decided to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God, the Most High God, they converted to Gentile. So, for everybody that has heard, there's only one type of Gentile. Whether you've been taught that, mainly in the Christian church, I will say this, that is correct to a degree. But I'll say that by also asking you this, and we're going to get back to this scripture. If I'm at a park, I shoot a dude, he dies, police respond, I'm still at the park, police come in and ask me, were you here when this man was shot? And I say, yes. They said, okay, thank you much. I go home. Now, they go back to the, they, continue to check the scene. They get a surveillance tape from the store next to the park that shows me shooting and killing that man. Again, it's just a hypothetical situation. They come back to my house because they got my information on the scene and everything. Come to my house and say, we spoke with you and you lied to us. And I said, I didn't lie. I answered your question. I was there when he got shot. Yeah, but you neglected to tell us you shot him. Now, I say all of that to say this. Part of the truth is just as good as a lie. It's just as good as a lie. If you read only the Old Testament of the Bible, could you tell me you know exactly what the Bible is fully about? If you go to a movie and watch 30 minutes of the direct center of a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, can you tell me what that movie was about? You can tell me some of the things, but you can't tell me what that's about. So being taught part of something can be a setup. being taught that there's only one type of Gentile could keep people ignorant or having the lack of knowledge as to the fact that there are more than one type of Gentile. Thus, the Most High has even said, my people kill for lack of knowledge, ignorance. That simple lack of knowledge. All right. So we're going to go to verse 4. For the temple was filled with, I read verse 4. Verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. We want to touch on that as well. Verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath day or ancient fast, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So this is that conversion to a Gentile. If back then you were one of these Israelites, you're converting to a Gentile because you're doing all these things. You're no longer keeping the Sabbath. Hey, the heathen didn't keep the Sabbath, so we're just getting, we're just going with their customs and their traditions. You're a Gentile. Also, a lot of people, when they're reading the Bible, and I'm hoping you all read your Bibles. Please read your Bibles. There are things that people read in the Bible that they misconceive, or they overthink it, or they just totally miss what's being said, because it's very straightforward. This right here, I see how Israelites converted to Gentiles. It's very plain to see to me. Now, it's also written that Mosiah is not the author of confusion. Yet, my people get confused. Again, there are things that they've learned in other places, such as the Christian church. Part of the truth, not all of the truth. If and some of them don't even teach part of the truth. Some just teach all our lies. But regardless of the fact, it's leading the sheep to slaughter. That's why I'm saying part of the truth is just as good as the lie. If you're not going to know the whole truth, if you're not going to read, search, find the whole truth, and you're content with, or you're okay with just knowing part of the truth, or if you've only been taught part of the truth and you don't go to research to verify that's the whole truth, it just makes no sense to me how my people are content with something. And the only thing you have to do is read. Literally read. Something that you should have been taught. Now, I understand that there are some people that cannot read. For those people that cannot read, I will say this to you. There are real brothers of the truth, the real truth and the whole truth, that teach lessons just like this. Again, I'm going to, in the description, in fact, I'm going to have the link to King Porter's YouTube channel, as well as King Maccabees' YouTube channel. We also have a queen who speaks with our queens, and I'm going to even leave her link to her channel here as well. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's nearly as many kings bringing out this truth that should be. I I did a lesson on a call to the kings. If you have not seen that and you are a prince or a king, I urge you, please go check it out. But let's get back on to, the Hanukkah or Feast of Dedications versus Christmas deal. So that right there are some of the reasons why you're not to celebrate Christmas. You're following the heathen. But I have a precept for that. So I want to go to 2 Kings chapter 17. I'm going to go to 2 Kings. We're going to go to chapter 17, verse 15 through 23. Verses 15 through 23. Now, this is a precept. Now, this is going to also show not only how an Israelite can convert to being a Gentile, but the repercussions of Israelites doing so. So let's get it. 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 15. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers and his testimonies, which he testified against them. And they followed vanity and became vain and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. The cutting down a tree, even the fake trees, putting a tree, Christmas tree, in your house, proclaiming that it's a Christmas tree for Christmas. When we read that in Jeremiah 10, verses 1 through 5, it literally says their custom, one of their traditions, one of the heathens' traditions. It says right here, the Lord charged Israel that they should not do like him. Verse 16, and they left all the commandments of the Lord their God and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove and worshiped all the hosts of the heavens and served Baal. Now they're going into idolatry. You got Israelites are going into idolatry. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and use divinations and enchantments and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. Now, Mike did a lesson where he covered this about causing their sons and their daughters to go through the fire. That was this little ritual that the heathens did. But they take the kids and pass them over burning charcoal, doing what the heathens do. Again, which he charged Israel that they should not do like them. Let's keep going on. And it also says, if you look at the end of verse 17, to provoke him to anger. So let's see what happened when he got angry. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. He turned his back to them. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hands of spoilers until he cast them out of his sight. I said I was going to read to 23, okay? For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, king, And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them until the Lord removed Israel again out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their land to Assyria unto this day. So, that's a precept, as well as what the repercussions were for Israel adapting to the customs or traditions of the heathen of the world. Okay? So those are reasons we are not to celebrate Christmas. Okay? So, I want to go to Leviticus 23, verses 1 through 4. Because we addressed holidays and I briefly touched on holy days, we're going to go to Leviticus 23, verses 1 through 4 here. And they read, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. All right. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You should do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. Now remember, we touched on Leviticus 23 and 4 earlier. I'm going to go over it again. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. In their season. You can read about a bunch of the feast days here in this book, in this chapter, all the way down to verse 44. But what I want to do now is I want to go back to the Apocrypha. And we're going to go to First Maccabees chapter 2. And again, a lot of this is going to be me touching on or rehashing that which my brother Mike Malice did, okay, on the Feast of Dedication. All right. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the son of Jorid, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Cadiz, Simeon called Thasi, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar called Avarin, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphras. And when he saw the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and Jerusalem, he said, Woe is me. Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and of the holy city, and to dwell there, when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers. Her temple is become as a man without glory. Oh man, you know what your glory is. If you don't, that's going to be your male reproductive organ. So the temple had become so low, it was as low as a man without his glory. Her glorious vessels are carried away into captivity. Her infants are slain in the streets. Her young men with the sword of the enemy. Man, when I read that, I think exactly what Mike said when he got to this point. Man, that's happening right now today. They killing our young men in the streets today. Today, they teaching our young men that we need to have guns. Check this out. They just passed a law. And then everybody, I'm here in the state of Tennessee, and then everybody can have a gun. So again, we just read out Israel will do that the heathen do. They'll follow the heathen. Well, if the heathen been killing Israel, what you think the Gentiles of Israel gonna do? Happening right now today. What nation hath not had a part in her kingdom and gotten of her spoils? The reason why is referred that the other nations are strangers, heathens, dogs, every one of them, all of them, to some degree, played a role in Israel, you being in the position that you are right now today. Right now today. So all that, but my Asian friend, they love me. The same people from back then that this is referring to, which is every other nation, that's the same people today. There's nothing new under the sun. Same people. All her ornaments are taken away. Of a free woman, she is become a bond slave. Want the precept for it? It's in Deuteronomy. It's in Deuteronomy. I charge you, if you don't know this is just one of the precepts. If you don't know any of the precepts for this word bond slave, go to Deuteronomy. You'll find at least one. And behold, our sanctuary, even our beauty and our glory, is laid waste, and the Gentiles have profaned it. And when you see Gentiles here, that's going to be both the heathens and the Gentiles of Israel that converted to being Gentiles. They've profaned the sanctuary. To what end, therefore, shall we live any longer? Then Mattathias and his sons rent their clothes and put on sackcloth and mourn very sore. In the meanwhile, the king's officers, such as compelled the people to revolt, came into the city, Modin, to make them sacrifice. So here you got some Edomites that are coming into the city to make them sacrifice. And when many of Israel came unto them, Mattathias also and his sons came together. Then answered the king's officers and said to Mattathias on this wise, Thou art a ruler and an honorable and great man in this city, and strengthened with the sons and brethren. Now therefore, come thou first and fulfill the king's commandments. So they want these Israelites to fulfill a king's commandment. Now, I did a lesson where the disciples even said we ought to obey God and not mere men. Here's a mere man's commandment. Like as all the heathen have done, and the men of Judah also, and such as remain at Jerusalem. So shalt thou and thy house be in the number of the king's friends, and thou and thy children shall be honored with silver and gold and many rewards. They want to, they're basically saying you'll be showered with these gifts. You know, it's a trade-off. If you do this, surely you're going to receive this. I mean, look at all the other Gentiles that did. Look at all these other Israelites. They not Gentiles, but look at them. They got gold and everything. Look at Hollywood. Look at the music industry. When an Israelite, whether they know they're an Israelite or not, they make it to these places. One of the things that you see the most is all this gold and all the ice. You know, the same thing from back then still going on today. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away everyone from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, talking about the king again, the king's commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. So they saying, I'm keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. I'm keeping the covenant that my forefathers had with the Most High. Okay, verse 21, God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. I've seen that before, God forbid. I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to do a lesson on that. In fact, for those who think you're saved by grace, those same words, God forbid, you can find that really close near it. Verse 22, we will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Verse 23, now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. So here we got one of these Gentiles. It was an Israelite. But they converted to the heathens, so they're a Gentile. He's going to the altar to sacrifice. Let's see what Mattathias, how that moves him. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled. Neither could he forbear to shew his anger according to judgment, wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. As soon as he saw him do it, he killed him on sight. All right. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled the men to sacrifice. So the man that the king sent to compel the Israelites to convert to the heathen's customs. Also, the king's commissioner who compelled the men to sacrifice, he killed at that time, and the altar he pulled down. So because they profaned this altar, he killed. Not only the dude that went up here, I guess he said, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to be the Gentile to lead by example. I'm going to do what the king commanded. He goes up there and starts to do this sacrifice. Mattathias kills him. He then goes and kills the dude that the king commissioned to have the Israelites to convert to these customs. He kills him. All right. Then he pulls the whole altar down. Thus dealt he, verse 26, thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like a Phoenix did unto Zambri, the son of Shalom. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. So basically he said, if there's any Israelites out here, they're still following the law, statutes, and commandments, I need you to come with me. I'm gonna need y'all. Come here with me. All right. So we're gonna go down to verse 31. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem in the city of David that certain men who had broken the king's commandments were gone down in the secret places in the wilderness. So Mattathias, after he went into the city, he called out for anybody else that's keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. When he made that call to the kings and queens, they went to the wilderness. Now word has gotten back to the king. Yo, it's some dude. He killed your boy that you sent. Then he killed one of the dudes that your boy had compelled to do what you wanted. They killed him. Then they pulled the altar down. And now they gone into the wilderness. They pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day, a holy day. Which is why we went into Leviticus, which is also why I made sure to keep on there when we went into Leviticus and Leviticus 23, 1 through 4. That's why I read all of that from 1 through 4, because it addresses specifically the Sabbath day. So this is a holy day. Okay, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandments of the king, and ye shall live. First, I want to go into, man, Israel, man, y'all don't know. Y'all different. I'm different. We different. No, it's not coincidental that we are even in sports. We're the strongest, we're the fastest. All of that is not, that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that when they first brought Israelites over here to be slaves, and that's to America to be slaves, do you realize we were killing them? If you didn't know that, Mike Malice also did parts 1, 2, and 3 to the Willie Lynch report. That is addressed there. So even here, they knew, man, we can't do nothing with these folks. We got to try to reason with them some kind of way. And you'll see this throughout the Bible. Crafty counsel. They tried to pay them off initially by saying, surely you'll have gold and silver if you just do this. And Mattathias said no. That was prior to him killing the Israelite, the Gentile Israelite that went to make this sacrifice, as well as killing the man that the king sent to compel this foolish Israelite, and yes, I'm saying foolish, to do this. Now, the reason I'm saying he's foolish is because this is it. And I say this all the time. There's a difference in being ignorant and being foolish or a fool. Ignorance is just simply the lack of the knowledge. You just don't know. But foolish, now this Israelite that Mattathiah said, kill. He had converted to being a Gentile, which means he knew better. He decided, he made a clear and concise decision to be like the heathens, to adopt their customs, to adopt their tradition. That's very foolish, unwise. That is the difference between ignorance and foolishness. Ignorance is the lack of knowledge. Foolishness is having knowledge, yet making a clear and concise decision that's pretty much going to be unwise, to categorize itself as foolish. All right? Verse 34, but they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So he said, we ain't coming forth. We're not finna profane the Sabbath day. So they standing down. They said, no, we're not gonna do it. So then they gave them battle with all speed. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So now what they saying is, they standing there, they allowing them to kill them because they are trying to continue to observe the Sabbath, right? But they also announced that you killing whoever, if you kill any of us, every one of us that you kill, let it be known that heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. Okay, let's continue. We're going to go down to verse 41. And we're just going to give verse 41 through 51. I'm going to wrap this up. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the seventh day, we will fight again. Now, this is after they did that. They slaughtered however many of them they slaughtered. They killed however many of them they killed, but they didn't kill them all. So what the decree they made was, all right, if they bring their ass down here again on the Sabbath, we're going to fight against them. Now, I like the way that my brother Mike has said it in that lesson. I think he said it something to this degree. There's a time when the Most High will have you stand down, but then there is a time when he'll have you to rise up. Okay? So, verse 41, I'm going to read it again. 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 41. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. So they're saying, we're not going to die like our brethren that when they came that last time, that last Sabbath, man, they came, they slew about, man, they killed some of us. That ain't happening this time. Not this time. Verse 42, then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel. Even all such were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Again, I did a lesson on a call to the kings. Well, here we got some kings that answered a call. And they came. They came to fight with these men and women that were held up, that have made the decree that if they come here again, they getting this work. They had already said they getting this work this time. We gonna go on and give it to them. We gonna give them what they think they want. Verse 43. Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them. So there were some that went and hid that last time they came. But now they coming back. Verse 44. So they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor. So they was killing these folks that the king had sent. But the rest of these heathens, they went back. They went back for backup. Then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coasts of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. That is a commandment. I did a lesson on the commandments. I put in the description where you can find all of the 613 commandments. You will find that's in one of those scriptures. Verse 47, they pursued also after the proud men, and the work prospered in their hand. So they recovered the law out of the hands of the Gentiles and out of the hands of kings. Neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. Now, when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now have pride and rebuke God in strength in the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time, so shall ye receive great honor in everlasting name. They call to remembrance. That is why we celebrate the Feast of Dedication. So Israel, I've gone over the reasons why you are not to celebrate Christmas. I've gone over even based on past situations what the Most High does when you entertain the heathens' traditions and customs. I furthermore went into I also went into the difference between a holiday and a holy day. And if you notice in Leviticus, it doesn't say the word holy day at all for Israel to keep. Doesn't say anything about holy days and feast days. I mean holidays, I apologize, holidays and feast days. It does say holy days. So why are my people observing these holidays? I mean, this particular holiday, Christmas, even down to the fact of the Christmas tree is in the Bible. And it clearly states that no good comes of it. It also says because that is a custom of the heathen, you're not supposed to do that. We went over so many precepts. We went over precepts about that. We saw about how some of our Israelites did it anyway, became Gentiles, converted to Gentiles. Why Israel? There's nothing confusing. Again, the Most High is not the author of confusion. This is not hard at all. This is not confusing at all. What is confusing and perplexing is yet and still our people, our nation, Israel, whether it be due to ignorance or foolishness, they want to do what the heathens do and keep Christmas. The Feast of Dedication, actually, and I want to get that too. Because I also, when we went into Leviticus, it said to keep them in their seasons, right? So we're gonna see something real quick. I wanna get a gist of what the season is for the Feast of Dedication. If you would please, let's go to John chapter 10, verse 22. It's right here. Now, first, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this. John chapter 10, verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. Let's go back to Leviticus. Now, that's the New Testament. We're going to go back to the Old Testament. Leviticus 23. Look at verses 1 through 4. And right there, verse 4, these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. If you're celebrating anything in winter, it don't need to be Christmas. It needs to be the Feast of Dedications. That is the actual season that you are to observe that, as well as the fact that Christmas is well, that's the heathen stuff, and they can do whatever they want to. Now, don't get it twisted. You know, they gonna do whatever they want to anyway. But Israel, we cannot. As we read in First Maccabees, you know, even there it states about the law being given to Israel. And how Maccabees couldn't believe this is the very place that I lived. And to come back and see this is where the law was. Israel, we gotta stop chasing after the heathens. We gotta stop this. Keeping these holidays, these man-made, traditional, customary holidays, you're not supposed to do that. Keeping them, the date of your birth, the day you tend to idolize yourself. What exactly are you celebrating on your birthday? The day you were born to sin? What exactly? I asked this back when I was addressing something that another lesson of mine. What is Valentine's Day? What is it commemorating? Is it commemorating something you're supposed to be celebrating in some type of celebratory way? You can look at each and every one of these man-made holidays, man-made customs, man-made traditions, and I'm going to church on Sunday. Why? Sunday, and this is what I was taught when I was in school, elementary school, way back when. I was taught this. There are 7 days in the week. The first day of the week is Sunday. Although it's the second half of the weekend, it's the first day of the week. That Monday through Friday are the weekdays, but they're the second through 6 days of the week. And that Saturday is the seventh day of the week. Do you realize that I have children, my children were not taught that? Why was that taken out? Now, I don't know how many other people were taught that. But I remember being taught that distinctively. I distinctively remember, because I always used to ask, well, if Sunday is the first day of the week, why nobody work on Sunday? It's the first day of the week. Like things like little bitty things like that. The crafty council, first of all, they twiddle their thumbs. And this is just my envision of crafty council. Twiddle their thumbs. How can we get them more fucked up today? Or for the next 15 years, or for the next 100, 400, 500 years. I know we'll convince them to do what we do. Because that ain't the way they supposed to do things anyway. It's totally opposite from the way they supposed to do things. Let's convince them to do this. Israel, we gotta be better. And the time is drawing nigh. And it's commanded, if you have a brother or you have a sister. And let's say they just don't know. It's commanded to you to teach them. Teach your folks. So let's say we'll take me, for instance. My family knows all these little holidays. You can call me. You can come see me. But something that I'm not going to do, I'm not going to be celebrating these things. And I remember when they first found it out, they asked me why. I said, you know what? I'm glad you asked me. Because it's commanded that I explain to you why. And I do what I'm supposed to do. And I explain to them why they're not. And I listen to their rebuttals. And I get more precepts. And I listen to their rebuttals until they bring some foolishness. And I rebuke them. Even my family. Love them to death. But there's a reason why there's a 1/3 and a 2/3. There is a reason. There's a reason why the bigger number is not the number you want to be in. Start educating our people. Let's explain to them why they're not supposed to be doing the Christmas traditional holiday, the Thanksgiving traditional holiday, the independence of America. Are you serious? First of all, this is the country that say you free. How the country say you free, then there's a day of it being free. This shit just don't make no sense. That's a bunch of man-made fraggle-knuckle bullshit. So with that, Israel, I'm going to say this. The Feast of Dedications is coming up. When we're to observe the Feast of Dedications. It's in that season already. It's winter. It's coming up. The Christmas thing, I urge you. You know what? How the Most High looks at it. He turns his head away from you. You go to doing what the heathens do. I mean, he got his head turned to his head right now. We got to get better. We have to be righteous. All your kinfolks is hanging up the little stocking. What the stockings get? What the stockings commemorate? You know, it's crazy to me. However, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. Even I was taught that was the thing to do. That was the tradition to do, and I never questioned that which I was taught at the time. One, I was too young. It wasn't gonna matter if I did any research on it or not, and found out the truth. My mom and my dad were gonna say, if you gonna be up under my roof, don't do what we say do. But they were taught that under the same type of constraints. And their moms and dads were taught that. It's been an ongoing cycle. But now, I'm in the truth. I see that that's not what we're supposed to do. So now I'm trying to teach my people what they're supposed to do. This ain't it. You know, so I urge you, stay in your Bibles, stay reading, stay diligent. This is being one of the Most High's chosen is a hard thing. It is. The types of battles and wars that a person in the truth has to fight far outnumbers the types of battles and wars that a heathen has to fight. And they're totally different types of wars, battles and wars. Some of them are the same, but then we have others. We have to battle with ourselves. You understand? We have to battle with our family, who you've shown them in every shape. Now, your friends, why you're to do this and not to do this. You know, and they want to sit there and go back and forth with you. That's the type of battle. People, you know, I've lost some ties to some people that at one point in time they were close to me. Lost wars with them. Had to let them go. Had to let them go. They want to be in the world. Although I'm showing them the world is unrighteous, I want to be righteous. So stay diligent. Stay reading. And until next time, Israel, I'm going to tell you, Shalom, make sure that you teach your brother. And I'm using that as a male-female collective, which means even your sister. Sister, if you know she couldn't possibly know she's an Israelite, explain it to her. Explain it to her why she is. Explain to her why, because you are, you're not supposed to be doing this, sis. Same with you kings. And I'm saying this to all the kings, queens, princes, and princesses. If you know who you are, help the rest of us. Because at one point in time, I didn't know. Somebody had to come to me. You know, so take care of one another, love one another. Till next time, it's your brother Marcus G. See you next time.